They were barely out of their teens, long before the leather, the pentagrams, and the mythos of heavy metal. Before the world knew Ozzy Osbourne as the wild, bat-biting frontman, before Tony Iommi's riffs would reshape rock history, there were raw, unpolished recordings, forgotten reels from smoky rehearsal rooms, and hastily arranged studio sessions. Now, those very early Black Sabbath tapes are being released, offering a once-in-a-generation glimpse into the embryonic sound of a band that would soon become legends. The unearthed recordings, dating back to late 1968 and early 1969, capture the original lineup: Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, grappling with their identity. They hadn't yet fully committed to the name Black Sabbath at the time. In fact, some of the recordings are labeled Earth, the name they briefly adopted before discovering another band and already claimed it. What's clear from the first haunting notes is that the band was already navigating something far heavier than their contemporaries. Unlike the polished, haunting doom of their self-titled 1970 debut album, these early tapes are gritty, rough-edged, and unfiltered. But therein lies their charm. Tony Iommi's guitar tone is unmistakably present, dark, blues-rooted, and distorted in ways that foreshadowed what would soon define metal. Ozzy's voice, though youthful, already possesses that eerie, nasal wail that would come to be his signature. Butler's bass doesn't yet thunder with the same intensity as it would later, but there's rebellious confidence in every pluck of the string. And Bill Ward, his jazz-infused drumming is unrelenting, dynamic, and constantly evolving. Fans and music historians are calling the release a holy grail of early metal artifacts. It's not just about the music, it's about witnessing the birth of a sound, of an attitude. The recordings are riddled with imperfections, off-tempo moments, and lyrics that feel half-finished. But that's what makes them priceless. They humanize the legends. They remind listeners that even icons like Black Sabbath didn't emerge fully formed from the shadows. They stumbled, experimented, and found their voice through trial and error. One standout track from the tapes, a previously unheard song titled The Rebel, shows the band dabbling in psychedelic rock, complete with swirling guitar effects and unexpectedly melodic harmonies. It's a far cry from the doom-laden horror of Black Sabbath or the menacing groove of NIB, but there are flashes, riffs that hint at what's coming, lyrical turns that echo the themes of isolation, fear, and societal collapse that would later define their best work. Another gem, a raw early take of Wicked World, reveals how far the song came before making it onto their debut album. The version on the tape is slower, almost hesitant. Ozzy stumbles through some lines, unsure of where the rhythm should fall. Yet there's an undeniable energy, the kind of fire that only youth, hunger, and a chip on your shoulder can produce. The release has been lovingly restored from the original tapes, thanks to a collaboration between former Sabbath archivists and longtime producer Mike Exeter. Every effort was made to preserve the analog grit while enhancing the clarity enough to make the listening experience immersive. The result isn't just an album, it's a time machine. Longtime fans are likely to marvel at how quickly the band's identity began to crystallize. Even in these formative sessions, the core Sabbath ethos, darkness, rebellion, and musical weight, bubbles just beneath the surface. For younger fans, many of whom discovered Sabbath through TikTok trends or sampled riffs in modern trap beats, the tapes are a chance to go deeper, to understand how four working-class lads from Birmingham changed the sonic landscape forever. The packaging of the release will include a detailed booklet with photos from early gigs, liner notes from Iommi and Butler, and reflections from musicians inspired by Sabbath's early work. Among them is Metallica's James Hetfield, who wrote in his note, "Hearing these tapes is like reading the first draft of the Bible of metal. Raw, uncertain, but full of divine spark." There's also a short documentary accompanying the release, featuring interviews with surviving members and clips from rehearsal spaces. In one poignant moment, Geezer Butler recalls how the band would play through the night in a freezing warehouse, eating beans on toast and dreaming of America. We didn't have a clue, he laughs. But we had sound. We had our sound. The release isn't without controversy. Some critics question whether these tapes should have been released at all, fearing they might diminish the band's mystique. Others argue that lifting the veil adds depth to their legacy, showing the sweat, doubt, and camaraderie that fueled their rise.